Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video here on Nace. Now the car that you see in front of me, I actually rented online through a platform called Nova. You can almost think about it like an Airbnb, but for cars. Now, I was in a mood for a Porsche not too long ago, and I was browsing through the internet and I came across Nova. I went onto the website, requested the booking, I went through a quick vetting process, and then the owner accepted and a Porsche was delivered to my door. Now fast forward to today, I actually felt like driving something new, something with a bit more M in it. So I hopped onto the website, I browsed through their impressive selection of cars, and I came across this, the G87 M2. So I hit the request to book, I set my dates, the owner accepted, I didn't have to go through the vetting process again because I'd done so previously, and just like that, this monster of a machine was delivered to my doorstep. So why not try it for yourself? Nova. I wasn't so sure what I was going to think about this car, to be honest, because when the car was launched, it actually received a lot of hate. People criticized it for the way that it looks, but looks are subjective, so I'm not going to pay too much of attention to that. But people were saying that it weighs so much, people were saying that it isn't as hardcore as the previous gen, the F87. But you know what, I'm not really sure what these people were on about, because driving this car here now, I actually think that it's absolutely brilliant. So what do we have here? So we have an M2 that is built on the same platform as the M3 and M4, the CLAR platform. So basically, in a nutshell, you can think about it like BMW doing their research and development around steel, aluminium, and carbon fiber. So this car benefits from research and development from higher end M models. So you have the same brakes, you have the same exhaust system, you have the same rear axle and front axle. You get the magnificent gearbox, the ZF gearbox, and this brilliant S58 engine. Now, it is slightly detuned in the M2, but you still get 338 kilowatts and 550 Newton meters of torque. And it will take you to 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds. But you know what? I think it can do it under 4 seconds. BMW always understate their numbers now. Now, what I like about this whole new range of BMW M cars is that they're really putting so much of focus and attention on making their cars better on the road. I said the exact same thing off the M3. Now, coming down all the way to the baby M, the M2, it's so compliant, it is so comfortable, it is so nice to drive. But if you do want to change the settings, it does have the active M suspension and an active M differential. This car can just transform into an M monster with just these two buttons, the M1 or M2, depending on how you configure the car. And I love that because people are going to daily drive this car. And I mean, listen to the engine. That's in efficient mode. It is so fast. Now, this car does have a shorter wheelbase than the M3 and the M4, but it feels a lot more alive. I do think that it's because of that two-wheel drive factor, but it just feels so agile. I mean, when you put your foot flat down, the car moves, it wants to move a lot, but because you have the active M differential, you can actually feel it distribute the torque between the two rear wheels. It's done in a predictable manner. I feel like I am so in control in this car. The suspension is really, really good. I come back to it because I did say it's so comfortable. And I think maybe, they gave us softer springs here and maybe some stiffer dampering, because that active M differential and the active M suspension does wonders on this car. It is so, so good, so compliant. We don't have that great roads here in Johannesburg. But driving this car on our back roads, every now and again you're gonna get a pothole and it's quite bumpy. But I never felt like the car is out of control. I grew up learning how to drive with cars that had electric steering, so I don't really mind them too much. But, you don't get that much feedback compared to hydraulic steering, but I like the steering in this car. It's thanks to that staggered setup. But also, when you have steering like this and a car that has quite a wide track, even though it has a shorter wheelbase, it has the same sort of track as an M4. Now it's very, very accurate at the steering, and it gives you so much of confidence turning in and out of corners. Now if I'm speccing my M2, I actually would spec it with a manual gearbox. Now even though this car shares a lot of its components with the M3 and M4, because it has a shorter wheelbase and two-wheel drive, I find myself wanting the manual gearbox. Like, I feel like I'm being deprived of that, you know, that sensation of turning gears. Even though you have rev matching with the manual transmission in this car, I find myself really missing that whole manual experience. You know, overall, I think this is the pick of the M's, because this is reminding me so much of the E46 M3 in terms of its size. Dynamically, yes, it is slightly different, but when you put your foot down, the whole car squats, and the car does move around a little bit on the straight when you're putting your foot flat to the floor. I really like this car. You know, it's giving me that E46M vibes in here. So what do you think of the G87 M2? Well, you know, to my eye, I really like this car. I mean, let's start at the front end. So yes, it does have the frameless kidney grills, but you know what? I think it looks absolutely spectacular on this car. And it's a bit boxy. I mean, look at these edges here. I mean, if you look at it, it does actually have proper vents in there, because if you look carefully, there are actually radiators in here. So, you know, BMW are not really known for putting a lot of fake vents and exhausts on their cars, unlike some manufacturers. Mercedes. Sorry, I should actually get that checked out. But you know what? I really, really like this car. I mean, look at these wheels as well. You do have the Michelins on here. And, you know, with the staggered setup, you got the 19-inch and you also got the 20-inch. Does give the car a very nice stance. And also, what about these side skirts? Because if I'm not mistaken, the only thing that was carried over from the standard 2 Series was the doors and I think maybe even the hood. All of these side panels here, even the flared wheel arches, are unique to the G87 M2. I mean, this car looks absolutely wild, to be honest. I mean, you even get the carbon roof for the very first time on the M2. I think it just adds that sportiness. And also, what about the back end? I mean, yeah, it does have that boxy look here, but I think it works quite well with this car because the whole car is like that, but it looks so aggressive. I absolutely love the way the back end of this car looks. So guys, what do you think of the interior in the new BMW G87 M2? Well, you know what? I mentioned this in the previous video when I was reviewing the G Series M3. The build quality is so good. And it's exactly the same in here. I mean, you get the same sort of dashboard, you get this magnificent heads-up display, you get very HD graphics in here. You know, I'm actually a business intelligence consultant by trade, so when I see a dashboard that looks like this, it's very familiar to me. I quite like it. And you know, you can get quite intimidating with all of the menus, sub-menus, and so forth, because we know that modern cars are shying away from having a lot of buttons. But you know what, once you get used to it, you can actually see that it's quite intuitive. I like the cabin, the way everything is laid out, and especially the steering wheel. Even the shifters at the back, they feel really expensive, and the seats also very comfortable as well. I mean, I can't really fault it. I mean, yes, there are other rivals in this category that give you maybe a more exciting interior, but you know, when you buy a BMW, especially an M car, everything is focused around the driver, and it's exactly that. So what about the boot space in the G87 M2? Well, I think it's very decent. I mean, if you look at it, yes, it's quite spacious. You can also put the seats down, but to be honest, I don't think there's going to be much space for your mother-in-law here. So we now reach the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This isn't a full-on review, as I mentioned in my previous videos. You know, I get the car for a couple of hours and then I got to drive it. So it's basically my first impressions of the car. As always, you have yourself a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next one.